So what is a disc? A spinal disc can be found between each vertebrae, starting in the neck all the way down to the last lumbar vertebrae. There are little cushions between each of our vertebrae. And if I outline in green here, this is a vertebrae. And then there's a vertebrae below. And found in between, in blue, is going to be your disc. If we go and take a look from above, if we took off the vertebrae above and looked from a view from above, what would this disc look like? It actually has two parts to it. So this outer part here is called the annulus fibrosus, and actually there's several layers in there. They've measured it in a lab, and they found there's about between 10 and 12 layers of these annular fibrosis. The inner layer, which we can put in yellow, is called the nucleus pulposus. And this is a gel-like substance, and it allows for the body to have more mobility. What I like about this slide is it really shows close up the disc itself with its two parts to it. So you've got your annular fibrosis fibers that go around in circles around the gel-like substance that creates an enclosure for the gel so it can't seep out when you're moving. And that yellow gel in the middle, what I see it as is a little bit as the body's ball bearing. So it really helps in allowing the spine to move in multiple directions and be quite flexible. If we have a closer look at those blue fibrous type fibers, here you can see that they're so intelligently arranged in these oblique angles. Layer by layer, the oblique angle changes so that they're at a 90 degree from one layer to the other to create a really strong outer tensile strength around the gel, and this is to protect it from coming out. What are the roles of a disc? It actually has several roles, several important roles. The big one being that it absorbs up to 80% of the shocks through the spine. So they're found in between each vertebrae, and as the body absorbs shocks, whether it's through walking, standing still, jumping, the various forces that we put on it, it's through the discs that are actually absorbing this weight. And another role of this disc, of these discs, is that they create spaces between each vertebrae. And this allows for the passage of nerves to come out on either side. So here in blue is your spinal cord, and on either side we have nerve roots coming out, and they'll innervate skin, soft tissue, that being muscle, fascia, and also bone at each individual level. The other thing that it does, it actually holds up the weight of not only our spine, but also our head, our thorax, and our arms. So it can actually hold up quite a bit of weight depending on the size that you are. And what I'd mentioned in the previous slide is that it provides for mobility of the spine, and I would also add flexibility. How do we know which level the disc is located? We use anatomy. Let me explain. In purple, we have 7 cervical vertebrae. Those are the neck. In orange, we have the thoracic vertebrae. There are 12. In green, we have 5 lumbar vertebrae, and those are labeled L1 to L5, the 5th being the last one. And your last part of your spine is your sacrum, and we call it was made up as 5 vertebrae, but it's been fused, and so it's just 1 vertebrae, and we use it that one when we label a disc as S1. So if I have a lumbar disc problem, and it's between the vertebrae of L5, S1 here in red, I'm going to say my disc problem is at the level of L5, S1. If I have another problem here between L4 and L5, that disc, and it's bulging out the back, I'm going to say I have a disc problem at the level of L4 and L5. Those are the most common disc herniations in the lumbar spine.